infrastructural system which is deficient. Like in this part of the world, things don't work as smoothly as they ought to work. Sometimes the internet doesn't simply work. Phone lines are down. Electricity goes off. I mean, would your theory about people still apply, and would it work?
Well, I'd be interested to see what your listeners. I don't know if there's many texts coming, but I would think you'll find that most of these problems, we track them down, coming to people. I have a thing that computers do GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. So most processes are people oriented. So when you track it down, there's a person somewhere that caused that issue.
I see. So it's basically people. So what differentiates companies is people.
I like you saying that, Bernard. You can say that a few more times.
I'm saying it with the view that you would.
Yeah, I know. I'm playing with it.
You corroborate.
So here's the thing. It's called the team effect. So if you have an organization with a brilliant CEO and a great entrepreneur leading it, time and time again, it will fail in its objective and not reach its objective, not because the plan was weak, not because the resources weren't there, not because the CEO didn't know what he was doing, but because the people underneath did not buy into the vision. If everyone doesn't buy into the whole story, it can be a secretary who doesn't put a phone call through in time, so the boss can't make a decision and the markets turn against him. It can be a parking attendant who causes an accident that has a knock-on effect somewhere else. So the whole organization, and what I'm trying to say is that if emerging countries develop great people, and I'm certainly not the first person to say this, if they develop great people who are flexible, have tremendous communication abilities and positive attitudes, they will be able to put them into the right place at the right time to be competitive. And the number one attitude change, I think, for emerging economies is to find a way to make the local population believe that the growth at home is going to be so massive, going to be so great, that there is no need to leave. That's the number one message, because Ghana is trying to be the gateway to Africa, and is targeted to be the gateway to Africa. It's a fantastic place, tremendous people, friendly, and it's an opportunity. Now, if everyone believes that the growth here is going to be so great, and I think that the administration has a goal to raise the GDP growth rate, and if everybody buys into that, it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. If people don't buy into it, they get their skills, they get developed, and as we already know, they go somewhere else.
I see. Your ideas don't only apply to businesses; they can apply to a country.
Absolutely.
I see. So what have you seen about Ghana since you came? This is your second time, I gather.
Yeah.
I mean, what is the USP? what different thing do you notice about this country in terms of business potential?
Personally, one of the key differentiators in the future will be managing diversity, handling strangers, working with people that are not like you. And I think Ghana excels at that. I think it's beyond just friendliness, it's an ability to tolerate and accommodate, and I think that's within the history of Ghana. And at this particular point in the history of the world, we need leaders who can tolerate, accept, and also leverage diversity. The US is streets ahead of the world in managing diversity as a business product. And that's the point. If you're thinking that diversity costs you, you're wrong. Managing diversity well puts money, puts dollars, cedis on the bottom line. I think Ghana, the population, has demonstrated over time that they have a great attitude to be ambassadors, to be coaches, to be leaders. In the West now, there's a lot of talk about life coaching, soft skills training, team building, and I would like to think that that's something that Ghana could embrace as a national leadership thing, because if you're going to be leaders, it would be great to have some people who have the natural skills to do that.
You mentioned soft skill training. What's that?
Soft skills are the human element, sometimes referred to as the female side of things. So it's multitasking, it's handling pressure well, it's how to listen to people, it's interpersonal, that's person to person, it's intrapersonal, being able to communicate with yourself, cooperation versus competition. So the softer skills is how you would deal with an employee who has issues at home. In the past, what you did at home was separate to what you did at work. Now we're learning really that what happens in your home life impacts what happens at work. So soft skills are how managers and leaders work with the human element.
So how do you acquire that? How do you get that skill?
Nature or nurture? So, can it be trained? I had a great conversation with some colleagues just yesterday about whether these things are born. I think they can be trained to a limited extent, but I think there are cultural and there are also natural things that make that happen. So as a trainer, I would say, yes, I can improve somebody's soft skills levels. And there are techniques, there are many techniques to help: assertiveness training, managing aggression, supporting and motivating people. But I think the bottom line is that for an organization or even a country, the culture is what people grow into. So if you're bitter and angry and you work in a team where everybody's nice, friendly and supportive, very soon you will absorb that culture from the rest of the team. So people have a natural way of being and groups have a natural way of being. Groups will always win. There are several psychological things that talk about that. So the group generally has a dynamic of its own, and new members to the group will gravitate to what the group are doing.
I see. I noticed that you use a lot of psychology in your analysis and in your. I see. So have you had some demand from Ghana since you came? Do organizations here, are they awake to the opportunities and the services you offer? And do you see people coming to organizations like MindStyle or people who deal with these soft skills to ask for help?
Certainly it's early days, and it's my second trip to Ghana, but I certainly know that companies, major multinationals, are using this with their senior staff. Some of the major banks in Ghana now have corporate diversity initiatives which are built on soft skills training, presentation skills, and I think the multinationals know about it.
But for Ghana, it's relatively new.
But for Ghana, it is relatively new.
I see. So it will take some time, and I'm sure you'll come back again. But I really appreciate the at least the paradigm shift you've introduced, talking about look for problems and also not push selling, but probably listening. And then you've also talked about focus on pain. And you said something you didn't elaborate on, that people would do more to get rid of pain than to gain pleasure. Is that really true?
Absolutely true. There are only two motivating factors for a human being: pain and pleasure. And really? That's it. Everything boils down to that. We're moving towards pleasure or running away from pain. And the fear of loss is always greater than the desire for gain. The example I often use is that if you were walking down the street and you had a million CD note in your pocket and there was a busy traffic lane and the note blew across the road to the other side of the traffic and you just lost a million CDs, you would dodge the traffic and run across to go and get your million CDs. You'd risk everything to get it because you'd lost it. But in a similar scenario, if you're walking down the street and there's a busy lane of traffic and you glimpsed a million CD note across the road, you'd go, oh, I wonder if I can get... And the urgency to get it back isn't the same. So the desire for gain is never quite as great as the fear of loss. And that's unfortunate because it limits. So entrepreneurs are unnatural. The entrepreneur doesn't care what they lose because they're going out to break new ground, to do challenging new things.
But that's interesting because most organizations or companies market the possibility of gain instead of the prevention of loss. I mean, they will tell you, you are better off with us. Do this and gain this. And they don't tell you that come to us so that this does not happen.